Hello and welcome to Life with Francy podcast, a place where you will find all kinds of conversation of like mental health, self-love, self-care, trauma, hobbies, and more. With this podcast, I want to create a place where we support one another in personal and business life. Hope you enjoy this episode. Now, let's get this show started. On today's episode, I have the pleasure to talk to Dan. And Dan has survived two emergency brain surgery, weeks in a coma, and a month in rehab hospital. What he found out along the way might surprise you. There's nothing like a brain injury to refocus the mind. Driven by positive mindset, Dan has battled through excruciating rehab exercises to rebuild his life and return to a job that he loved. So he already inspires me, and I just can't wait to start this conversation with you. Welcome so much. Welcome to the show. What is life with Dan?
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Life with Dan is really good right now. I'm just I've lost my job this past summer, unfortunately, which wasn't the best, but it gave me a free runway to try out the speaking career full time. So now I'm going full speaker, full hedge, all bets in, all chips in, which has been exciting. It's been excruciatingly painful, frustrating. One step forward, three steps back, three steps forward, one step back. But it's what I need to do and what I'm called to do, which is quite rewarding and inspiring for myself. So I'm quite excited for the opportunity ahead.
That's awesome. Wow. Yeah, I can imagine. But yeah, tell us more about your story.
Yeah, so my story starts in London in 2014. So I was having these headaches. They were getting pretty bad over a few weeks' time, and I was taking painkillers like candy for them as my head was pounding. I went to A&E, which is accident and emergency twice. They thought it was vertigo and they sent me home, but they told me if the headaches are to continue, I should get my eyes checked at an optometrist. I was in the middle of the exam with the optometrist, Mr. Patel. He stopped it. And he handed me a sealed envelope and he told me to go directly to Moorfields Hospital. I kind of took that with a grain of salt, stopped at home first to grab a phone charger, a Jack Reacher book by Lee Childs I wanted someone to read. And I figured, well, I'm here, I may as well have a bite to eat. So I had that down. Then I went to Moorfields Hospital. They ran the same test and escalated me to Charing Cross Hospital. It turns out I had a dangerous buildup of pressure in my brain caused from a non-cancerous cyst in my head. It turns out I required emergency brain surgery. It turns out my life was about to change. My mom was in the air flying to London on June 21st, 2014 when I was on the operating table. Something went wrong, and I had a massive bleed in the brain, a brain hemorrhage. They think the cyst burst when they operated. Mom lands and finds I'm in critical condition. I was in a coma for 4 weeks.
Wow.
But was in and out of consciousness for months after this. Things were dicey, touch and go. When all was said and done, I learned how to walk, talk, and smile again. I rebuilt myself back up through excruciating rehab. I had a tremendous amount of support from friends and family. And now I am driven by a positive mindset and the lessons I've learned to kind of share kisses with the world and share kisses with people that want to hear me speak on podcasts and for speaking gigs. So I'm a speaker now, and life's going pretty well. It's not without its difficulties and its it can be quite trying at times, but it's very rewarding at this stage.
Wow. Yeah. And so you come back from the coma. How I don't even know how to ask. Like, how does one feel?
Yeah, so I woke up from the coma to see my mom, dad, and brother around the bed, hooked up to tubes and hoses. I've got things going off, beeping. I'm trying to speak, but I can't speak because I had a breathing tube removed, and it took me a few weeks to get my voice back. I'm trying to speak with them, but I can't. My voice didn't come back, and I point to my brother, I go, you, get me a pen and paper. So I write down the pen and paper, I go, get me out of here. And I show it to him, and I point to my brother, I go, Cam, make this happen. Because I didn't know what was going on. I'm in London at this stage. Like, I don't know if this is covered by my medical insurance. this looks bad. This looks, what's happened here is a yard sale. Let's get out of here. Needless to say, he didn't bust me out. I was in the hospital for months after that, but it was quite groggy waking back up from the coma. And I was in a wheelchair at this stage because when I was in a coma, my nurse had frozen at an angle in the ICU. So I had to rehab my leg, which was excruciatingly painful to wear a splint every night. I'd bite my arm trying to distract myself from the pain.
Oh.
And I gradually built back up, got off the ground, and started getting in the wheelchair. It took 30 minutes, then 25, then 30, then 25, then 20. And I gradually built this up with a better than yesterday attitude. It was excruciatingly painful to do this and very frustrating to do this because I'm taking steps backwards as well as step forward.
Mm-hmm.
But the mindset that I had through this was just keep going. It'll get easier. Just keep going. So I just kept going. And I guess that's what I can say to your listeners is like, it gets easier. Like you think it's never going to get easier. It's like the analogy I use is like, this is a new analogy. So be gentle with me on this.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you got this egg on, like, let's say a thing of hash browns, right? And you're trying to crack the egg yolk, but you can't break it. You can't break it. And it's just dancing around. You're not breaking this yolk, and then all of a sudden it breaks it and it seeps into everything. And it's just like it was always there. That's the thing with work and the process of work. It's like you just keep the work in, and eventually it just seeps in everything, and you just got it. Like it was always there. But it just happens in an instant. But you got to keep pressing it to make it happen. It wasn't easy to do this, but it was simple to decide that I wanted to make this happen. It's my reality now. It's my vibe. So it's, I can't really remember life before the brain injury, to be honest. I've got some good memories from that, but like myself and my cognitive ability, it's kind of all now post-traumatic brain injury, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So not only do you have to learn everything again, but now you have to learn about your brain and how amazing the brain is to be sitting down here right now and just having a conversation with me.
Yeah, so it's quite humbling to have this happen. Like when I was out of the coma, I couldn't speak for a couple of weeks, right? The reason how they got me speaking again, a Kiwi nurse took me down to the park and she sat me in front of these kids across the park and she goes, "Hey, Dan, those kids across the park, they don't think you're good enough to talk. They don't think you can talk, Dan." And that motivated me. So she hammered it. And I yelled some profanities across the park and I was singing and humming. But that worked, right? You got to find out what motivates you and just hammer that. Like don't be cute about it. Don't be holistic or like mindset wise. Like if it works, hammer it. Now I've transitioned my motivation from proving you wrong to helping, lending a hand. Service is what I call this. Because that's more long-term. That's more sustainable for both you and me.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm helping you, I'm not, once you reach your goal, I'm not like, well, that's done. My work's done here. It's like, I'm always helping you. I'm always kind of offering perspective and mindset shifts that can help you reframe things. When your mindset is totally just proving someone wrong, once you prove them wrong, the motivation dies. And I've realized that through trial and error. Like, I don't want to be that bitter, jaded old man of like, this guy did me wrong and this guy did me wrong or this person did me wrong. I want to help you. I want to help you develop and grow. And that's what motivates me now. So it's a trial and error process, but I've done a lot of trials. I've done a lot of errors as well.
Wow, yeah. And now I have been working on my mindset for so long. Now I can put it to work even more, seeing what is possible, because you're not victim of whatever you went through, and
Yeah.
you got yourself out and put in the work. And I admire that because it couldn't have been easy going through physical pain, emotional pain, and all of that, and be here today. So how was that process, a little bit of that journey as to how you got here?
Yeah, it's a great point. I think the mindset's really the most important thing you can have, and I can pass along to your listeners is like how you view something is the most important thing. It's not what it is, but how you view it's the most important thing. I'll share one story with you if you don't mind. about changing your perspective. Okay, learning to walk in Tooting Broadway. So Tooting Broadway is in South London, what they call up and coming. Bit dodgy, think loud sirens, gangs, dirty, hectic, busy. It's a full-on experience. I'm fresh out of a wheelchair. I'm walking with a cane. I'm walking with an eye patch. I'm Bambi on ice. I turn the corner on Tooting Broadway, immediately get slammed into by someone. I stagger back a few feet. Someone scurries past me on the right-hand side. Someone's been stabbed over here. I'm walking around here. This is a pretty wild place to learn to walk, man. After a few days of this, I'm thinking, this place sucks to walk, man. This is the worst place to walk in the world. Can't they see I'm trying here? Can't they see I'm trying to walk? And then one day my perspective shifted. Maybe this is the worst place to walk in the world. Maybe this is the best place. If I can walk here, I can walk anywhere. Now, Tooting Broadway didn't change, right? It's still up and coming as far as I'm aware today. No disrespect, Tooting Broadway, lots of love for you, man. But it went from the worst to the best in my mind, and my mood reflected that. What are you looking at in your life that you is convinced is the worst that could maybe be the best? Can you shift that perspective a little bit to reframe that for yourself? This made all the difference when I'm looking forward to my walks versus not. Bump into me, crash past me, good, bring it on. The mindset is everything. If I hadn't shifted my mindset, I might still be woes me and Tooting Broadway thinking, this isn't fair. But no one cares if it's fair or not. Life isn't fair. I hate to break your bubble, but no one's coming to save you. You got to kind of pick yourself up and get through this. And by wishing it didn't happen is not an active way to resolve it. By shifting your perspective of how you view it, you can actively resolve it and take steps to improve your lot. So the mindset is huge. And for this, I always say, Dale Carnegie is one guy I really enjoy. And he says, feeling sorry for yourself in your present condition is generally the worst habit you could possibly have. Well, it's the worst habit you could possibly have. It's a waste of time. Don't worry about what is and what isn't. Don't worry about the pity spiral is what I call it. The woe is me pity spiral.
Yeah.
You can avoid that at all costs. That's the biggest death blow you can put yourself. When you start feeling sorry for yourself, hey, that's a slippery slope. And it's not easy to say that or hear that. But I can tell you right now, when you start going down the woe is me pity spiral, you're not actively resolving your plight, your problem. I focus on mindset with my people that I speak with. And also fostering a resilient mindset. How do you foster a resilient mindset? That's a big thing. I'm not resilient.
Wow.
Okay, cool. How can you become resilient? I've got a blueprint to show you how you can become resilient. Prove to yourself that you are resilient. Keep promises to yourself. What I mean by this is let's say I want to go exercise every morning. I'm not a big exerciser. Let's say I don't want to go for a walk. Fine. Walk for a block. The next week, walk for 2 blocks. Week after that, 3 blocks. Show yourself through evidence that you are someone who keeps promises to themselves and you do exercise. Meditation. I meditate every morning now for 25 minutes, okay? 25 minutes, that's a huge number, Dan. No one can do that. Okay, fine. I started with 2 minutes. Next week, I did 4 minutes. Then 6, then 8. After a few weeks, I've got a whole list of meditations I've done up into that stage. I've got a whole laundry list of evidence to showcase I'm resilient. I'm someone who keeps promises to myself. I'm no better than you or your listeners. Why can't you do this? Show me you can do this. You can do this. But build up a library that showcases you can do this with evidence to yourself. I've done it this past week, which means I can do it for this week. I've done it for the past 3 weeks. It means I can do it for this week. Show yourself through evidence, undisputable evidence that you are someone who says what you said you're going to do, and build up from there. That was a rant and a half.
Yeah, and it truly is the accountability. And like you said, we, as some of us, I was in that a plan of having somebody else save me. And it wasn't until the past couple of years that I learned, okay, nobody's coming. I have to do this myself. And I took it to a different level, but it was mostly of my mindset. And now I wasted so much time feeling sorry for myself for trauma or this and that. But it took loving myself and validating my own feelings to just let go of what had happened and not feel victim to a story. So I love the conversation about changing your perspective no matter the situation that you have in life. Because, nobody promised us a good and fair life. I'm still
Yeah, and I think
waiting.
it's so key to have that because you're not wrong. It's not fair. It's not fair that it happened to
No,
you.
no.
But the question you got to ask after that is, and what? Now, what do you expect to have happened now? It's like, well, this isn't fair. It happened. Okay, and? Well, all this seems to be bad stuff happened to me. Okay, and? Well, John doesn't do anything and everything that happens to him. Okay, and? Before you know it, you're spiraling out. You've got nowhere left to go. Like, it stops somewhere. And when it stops, the acceptance is the biggest thing I can tell your listeners. Like, the faster you can get to acceptance, the faster you can accelerate and build off that, somewhere to go. It's not fair that this happened to you, but if you can accept it happening, you can have a foundation to build up from. And that's what I'm trying to get across to you is the faster you get to acceptance, the faster you can improve and rehabilitate yourself. It's not fair that it happened, but it's the truth. It's what it is. You can't change it. You can't control it. It is what it is, they say. But like the faster you get that through your mindset, the better you can be.
I absolutely love that. So what are you doing now? Are you offering coaching as well, or is it just trying speaking to get your story out there and give other people hope?
Yeah, speaking. I'm trying to be a full-time speaker. I've spoken in high schools last week. I'm got speaking gigs coming up in the next couple of weeks, online and in person. MacQueenDan.com, MacQueen Dan.com. I've got a website that's coming up in the next week. A demo reel is live now, but I haven't promoted it yet because the website's not up live, and I want to kind of coordinate those two together. But I'm chasing this down with my everything because I struggled so hard and I had so much help. Maybe you don't have the help that I had.
Mm.
I can pull you up and hey man, avoid that right-hand turn. That's a honeypot. It's a fake entryway. Go around the side. That's the better way to go. Because I've stumbled and fallen into that. Like I've scraped my knees, bruised my elbows. I've got the scars to prove you. Like the edge of the human experience, I've experienced that. I've looked over the abyss. I can tell you what matters at the end of life, what matters when you're flat on your back, counting for your next one. Like, what is it that actually matters? What do you care about? It's relationships. It's people around you in your life. Don't let those go. Like those are so key for you to nourish and keep those going. But you don't think I can do this? Okay, watch me. Like I've got a fire inside me it's ridiculous at this stage, but it's just like, okay, I can't do this. Watch me. Like I don't know what to tell you. Watch me.
I love it. I love it. Don't change. Keep it going because you're sure motivating me. Like I feel like after this, I'm just gonna go and conquer the world. I
Well, that's
love your
good.
mission, and
It's
get
good.
your
It's good.
story
But it's
out
like, I
there.
don't want to have that motivation come from such a dark place. I'm trying to transition that to service now. But I'll be honest with you, it's still a big part of my vibe is that you don't think I can do this? Okay, watch me.
Mm-hmm.
If people make comments or like just, a little snide remark, like, all right, cool, bud. Like, I'm not going to like come at you and tell you, hey, I didn't appreciate when you said this to me. I'm like, cool. I'm just going to write that in my mind and be like, remember that time you said this isn't going to happen? Watch me, bud.
Yeah, I can relate to that resilience. You have to be relentless to have the um life that you dream of. It's never too late.
Well, it's just like, I listen to like a lot of speakers and like personalities on Instagram and whatever, YouTube, whatever have you. I'm like, and they're good. They got good stories. I'm like, I'm not saying I'm better than them by any stretch, but like, I'm different, not better. My story is different. My perspective different than yours. But is there space for more? For sure. Is my perspective different and valuable? For sure. Because maybe you've had my experience. Maybe you've felt that way from some time. Someone made a remark that you couldn't do something. You're like, oh, hey, cool, bud. Watch me.
Mm-hmm.
I give this part of my demo reel that's out now, and I go, did you ever watch that Last Dance documentary by Michael Jordan? You?
No, I haven't.
Okay, well, it's not going to work then. You killed the bit. You killed the
I'm
bit.
sorry.
That's fine. That's fine. But essentially what it is Michael Jordan's a very bitter and jaded dude. The greatest of all time, right?
Yeah.
Very bitter and jaded. You
100%.
watch those interviews, he's like, yeah, this guy made this comment, and this guy did that. Like, and like, I'm like, I resonate with that. Like, I know that. Like, someone makes a comment like that, it's like, cool, bud. In the back of my mind, I've like made a list of like, you're on there. But he is such a crotchety, bitter old man on the stage in the game. He's just like sitting there like, this guy thinks he's this and this. Maybe that's where greatness comes from. I'm trying to be undeniable, but I want to come from a place, maybe this dark place from times, but mostly from service now. And that transition is a very intentional way to be, because I don't want to be this bitter, jaded old man. Not comparing myself to Michael Jordan, but like, I'm not, right? It's like, I can see the through line, how we got there, right?
I am a mail lady during the day. I say mail lady during the day. I'm podcaster at night, and I have delivered to all kinds of people, right? And I have seen 80s being grumpy and 80s being in your best life. I want to be that 80. I want to be that 80 that is still like full of life and childlike and just joyful. I mean, because it has to suck to be 80 and grumpy. Like, you have spent 8 decades just being miserable. Like, you can't find any gratitude in your 80s. So
Yeah,
I have seen it all, and it's all about perspective.
yeah, it's all about perspective. Like I've got a podcast called Play Loose, Look Tight, documenting the process of life after.
Okay.
Play loose, look tight. What is this? A life mantra. You want to play loose, joie de vivre, enjoy life, have a good time. Life's about playing, having fun. If you're not playing, having fun, like, you're doing it wrong. If you're always so serious, you're missing the point of life that makes it enjoyable. Play loose. Conversely, you got to look tight. Be on purpose, be intentional, show up well dressed, on time, ready to go to work, ready to get to work. Put your hands to work. Play loose, look tight, documenting the process of life after. It's a way to live my life in those 4 words, which I love.
I love that. I love everything about you. Thank you so much for this conversation. Is there anything else that you would like my listeners to know?
Website's going live next week. Daniel or MacQueenDan.com, MacQueen.com. I've got a whole bunch of podcasts out on YouTube now. I'll try and put them on my Twitter feed to like read some podcasts I've been on, because I've probably been on about a dozen or so now. Some are better than others, I'll be honest. I'm still learning. This is a process. Trust the process.
Yes.
But I'm very much chasing this down and very much looking to change your perspective, whether that be for a person, association, or an organization. I'll change the room. I'll change the room.
I love that. And I will have your website and YouTube channel and everything on the show notes for my listeners to go and find you. And as well, mention that I found you through Podmatch, right?
Yeah.
In that community for podcast hosts and podcast guests to find shows to be on. It's an amazing supporting community as well. So, but thank you so much for coming on my show today.
Hey, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for having me.
It was a great conversation, and you sure are going to change a lot of people, and your mission is needed. Your story gave me motivation, and you inspire me for real.
That's cool. That means a lot. Thank you for having me. Like, I'm no better than anyone on this. I'm different, not better. I'm different than anyone you heard, but I'm not better. Okay. Different, not better.
I love that. Well, hope you enjoyed this episode. I love this interview. You can find my podcast on every major platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Apple Music, and on my YouTube channel. And YouTube, you know how it goes. Like and subscribe. Hope you have a blessed day.